What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. This is still me, Solomon Wisdom, aka Born to Trade, and today I will teach you guys how to correctly select your supply or demand zone, and I'll briefly touch on why some of your supply and demand zones fail. You know, when you move to the price chart, when you move to the market, you will discover there are many supply and demand zones in the market, and people find it difficult to locate a valid supply or demand zone. They find it difficult to know the right supply or demand zones to trade from. So continue watching this video to the end, because I'll be teaching you guys how to select the right supply and demand zones, and I'll equally touch on why some of your demand and supply zones fail when you try to trade from them. So if you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing to this channel, be part of Born to Trade family, because this family is growing daily. Okay, so what can you see from here? What you need to understand right now is that if you look from here, you understand that this high right here, as you can see, this high formed this low. I hope you can clearly see that. So as that high formed the low, what else you need to see from here is that this particular high right here, it formed this particular low right here, and looking at this alone, you understand that we are in a downtrend. So let me draw this for those that are struggling to understand. You know, this is one leg, this is the pullback, and this is another leg. And what are we expecting to see? We are expecting to see a pullback that will push price lower. And what you need to understand is that we have supply and demand zones here that will actually pull price lower. So what people don't actually understand is the particular supply or demand zone that will make price to continue pushing lower. So let's go to 2 hours time frame so you can see this clearly, because not everyone can clearly see and understand what is happening here right now, and I hope this makes it more clearer. You can see it right here that this was a high, this high pushed price lower. You can see the retracement right here. After the retracement, you can see price has pulled lower. And what is our expectation? Our expectation is that price will pull back, react from some of these zones right here. Once it reacts from some of these zones, it will take out this low. I hope you can clearly see that. Okay, so let's go back to the time frame I'm using to analyze this. Now I'll have to delete this because I've explained it. Okay, now looking at some of the zones price will react from before it take out that low. So let me zoom in right here, because what you can clearly see is that we are in this range right now. Price is in this range, so taking out this low, price needs to react from some of the zones that is resting right here. I hope you can clearly see that. Now zooming in the more, what you can clearly see is that we have a zone right here, and many people will actually want to trade from this zone. Hope you can see that we have a zone right here. Yes, it's a good zone and people will like to trade from this zone, but what can you see? You can see that price came, smashed the zone, grabbed liquidity, and it's pulled back. So one thing you need to avoid while trading your supply and demand zone is trading from area of liquidity, because what you can see from here is that liquidity is resting here. This zone is a liquidity zone, and you can see many people will be tricked into trading from this zone, and you can see what price just did there. Price came, grabbed the liquidity, and you can see before it reacted lower. And what you need to understand is that this low has not been taken out. So this is one thing you need to avoid once you are trading the forex markets. When you see those zones, those liquidity zones, don't trade from those zones, because this is a liquidity zone. Like I've always explained, if you want to trade from this kind of zone, what you need to wait for is wait for the manipulation first. I hope you can see that. Once you wait for this manipulation, you'll see that you can never go wrong, because price will actually come back, mitigate the zone, and react. Why will this happen? Those liquidity resting below these lows has been taken out. I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain right now. Okay, going forward, you can see that price built liquidity right here, and you need to understand right now that what we are expecting is a pullback into a zone that will actually react. So, and what can you see? Price builds another liquidity right here. Remember what I told you guys, you need to wait for the manipulation to occur, because looking at this right here, you can see that this zone is a liquidity zone. And what can you see? Price moved lower, it cleared out this liquidity resting right here. As it cleared out the liquidity, you see price rapidly move up, pulled back, and before it's pushed to grab the liquidity resting right here. Hope you can see that. So when price did something like this, and people will actually want to trade from here, some people will select this zone right here. They will select this demand zone. They try to trade from this demand zone. Well, it's still a good zone. It's still a good zone for some people. But what you need to understand, one thing that makes this zone invalid is when you understand that we have imbalance that needs to be filled right here. We have 30 minutes imbalance that needs to be filled right here. So this imbalance resting right here has totally violated this zone right here. I hope you can see that. So the correct zone to trade from right now is coming lower to select this your zone. This zone that is lower, because you need to understand that price, as it moved up, it's coming back to one, feeling this imbalance and possibly react from this zone right here. I hope you understood that. That was a very simple thing to understand. And one other thing I like saying that makes my supply and demand zone valid and make it a high probability setup is when I see price move, and once price moves higher, I map out my zone. What else do I need to see that will make that zone a correct zone and a valid zone? Is when you see price trying to come low, see it inducing people to take a trade. You see that's building another liquidity. If you can see that, I have to shift this, so shift it to another place so you can see clearly. You see it's build liquidity. People will take trade from there. Stop loss below here. Now see price clearing those liquidity and it moves higher. So when I see this kind of setup, it's a high probability setup for me, and I like trading those kind of setup. So looking here, you can actually see that price builds some kind of liquidity right here. You see it built this liquidity right here, and many people seeing this, they will think, okay, liquidity is resting above my zone, so this particular demand zone is a good zone to trade from, forgetting that we have an imbalance that needs to be filled below here. Once the imbalance is filled, it tapped into the zone and it has to react. You fail to understand that. I hope you can clearly see that. Okay, one thing you need to understand is this low needs to be taken out. Once you understand market trend from the higher time frame, it will always give you the overall expectation of what to look for, because you can remember when you went to the 2 hours time frame, you understood that we are in this range, and this little range here is telling us that we are in an uptrend. But when you look from the higher time frame, you understand that the overall market trend is a downtrend, and what we are looking for is our supply zones that will actually push price lower to take out this low right here. As you understood that this zone failed because this is a liquidity zone, it failed, price spiked above the zone, clearing out the liquidity, and it failed to take out this low. Another good zone to consider is this zone right here, because you can see price pulled back here and see it dropped before we get this break of structure. So this is another good zone to trade from. You see this is our supply zone, which you can look to trade for. Once you look from here, you see that price builds liquidity, and you can actually understand, see this is a pool of liquidity, and what I want to see price do is clearing out those liquidity, which it has just done. Now it's tapped into the zone, and you can see we have a very good reaction. So these are the zones, the remaining 2 zones, good zones that we're expecting price to react from, because this particular high right here gave us this low. So our expectation is that either this zone or this zone will push price lower to take out this low right here. And if price fails to do something like that, and you now see price coming, maybe reacting, and it comes to take out this low right here, don't be too surprised, because looking at this, we see that this looks like an equal low, and for me this is liquidity resting right here. So if this zone right here fails to take out price, I won't like to take a trade from here, because this is a liquidity zone. My expectation is that price will break this zone. If it fails to move lower, price will break this zone, possibly come over to this particular zone, then moves lower, because this zone right here has not been mitigated. I hope you can clearly see that. So this is really a simple strategy, and I hope you understood one or two things from this video. Trading from liquidity zones will actually make your supply or your demand zones to fail. And another thing you need to understand is when you have imbalance that needs to be filled, look out for your imbalance, that is your fair value gap. Look out for them, because price actually needs to fill them before it moves to our direction. And another thing you need to understand is the market's direction. Understand the market's direction, because once you understand the direction of the market, it will give you the overall sense of a good supply and demand zones to use. Because as you can see from here, like I explained before, that this is what the market is doing right now. Because when you look from the lower time frame, you might see a lot of structures which might confuse you, but trying to look at the market, this is exactly what the market is doing. So this is it. And what's the expectation? Expectation is that price will react from here to take out this low. If it doesn't, it will come back to this particular zone up here, and for me this zone looks like a liquidity zone, which price will actually come back to clear out sometime. So I won't be trading. If this zone fails, I won't be trading from this zone. I'll be looking to trade from this zone that is resting here. So one thing you need to avoid from me right now is avoid liquidity zones. Try to identify where your imbalance is, so price will actually come to fill in those imbalance. And one other thing I would like to touch on later in another video are some supply and demand zones, high probability supply and demand zones. So thanks for watching this video. This is still me, Solomon Wisdom, aka Born to Trade, and if you are totally new to this channel, please consider subscribing to the channel, be part of Born to Trade family. And if you have interest in following me any of my platforms, please check the description box below. I have my Telegram link in there. I share free setups in that channel, and my Instagram link is still there. You can follow me on Instagram. Thanks.